Hello and welcome. It's just past 10 GMT. We begin this news hour with exclusive coverage from a heavy militarized zone on the border between Tunisia and Libya. 1,200 migrants, including pregnant women and 29 children, are stranded there with little food, water or shelter. All were rounded up in Tunisia and bused to the border. But Libyan border guards are refusing to let them in. The foreign ministries of both countries have discussed what they call the irregular migration. Human Rights Watch accuses Tunisia of violating international law by collective expulsions of black migrants, mostly from sub-Saharan Africa, and says they need immediate humanitarian aid. Our reporter, Malik Trainer, is the only journalist there and has been speaking to some of those stranded.
Can you tell me, did you come from Svakis? Yes. Who brought you here? Who brought you here? The Tunisians. And what is it you want? What is it you want?
We want to go back our country. Almost 6 days, they don't drink food.
Have you had water? Have you had food?
We don't have water. We don't have living. We don't have nothing right now. If you are people here is the Libyan people will help us and give us water we drink. Yesterday,
as you can see, we're here on the Libyan and Tunisian border, and where these hundreds of migrants and refugees were brought here by Tunisian authorities. This is what they're telling us. And you can see the condition is dire. There are people here that are injured, that are in dire need, that are desperate for some kind of help. We're seeing women and children. They want to feel safe. They want a safe haven. What happens when you try to go back to Tunisia? What happens?
they were beating us like merciless. Some of them, their foot was broke. They beat us 3 people there. Almost 3 people, they broke their leg. Almost 3 people there. One and children and pregnant women they are beating everybody. They are not eating enough. No merciless is short. And we don't do to them. We go to attend to them.
Yeah, they took us out with their boys. They are Asma boys. They beat us very.
Some of them are saying they've been here for 6 days, others for a little bit shorter. But we can see they're injured. People are injured, women and children. The situation is desperate. There needs to be some sort of a solution to this crisis. Now, Libyans will say that they're already dealing with a migration problem. There are according to the UN, there are over 700,000 migrants in Libya. Some people are telling us that they want to be deported back to their country, others that they want to go to Europe. But for these people here, the situation is desperate. Malik Trainer on the Libya and Tunisian border.
Well, we can speak now live to Malik Trainer. He is live from the city of Zawara, which is about 30 kilometers from the Libyan border with Tunisia. Extraordinary interviews there. You're one of the few journalists who've had this sort of access to this group of African migrants. Tell us a bit about where you were and the conditions these people were in.
Well, we were on the coast in between Libya and Tunisia. When the Libyan authorities took us there, they allowed these migrants and refugees to sort of come towards the Libyan border. Literally, I mean, we were a meter in between the two countries. You know, if a few steps towards the migrants, we would be in Tunisian territory, and they weren't allowed to reach us. Border officers weren't allowing them into Libyan territory. But I mean, really, it was just their situation. They're just so desperate, in need of dire humanitarian assistance. It's extremely hot. I mean, right now it's about 40 degrees. It's humid. It's hot. I literally, just standing out here for about 20 or 30 minutes, I've had to drink 3 or 4 bottles of water. So if you could just imagine, I mean, these people have gone days without any kind of water, without any food. There are injured, people that are injured, that are in need of medical assistance now. But, you know, the authorities on both sides don't seem like they want to help. You know, people told us that some well-wishers from the Libyan side were able to bring them enough water, but I can't see how it was enough.
So your understanding is that they are still in the same spot that you left them in, a place described as no man's land by many. many of them injured, with no access to healthcare, no access to water, no access to food. They're just stranded there.
They're stranded, absolutely. We spoke to a few officers at the border just about an hour ago, and they said the situation is the same, if not worse. They believe more people have been brought in by the Tunisian authorities. Yeah, and look, there were children there. There were pregnant women. I mean, something needs to be done. There needs to be some sort of a solution. At least let organizations, humanitarian organizations, perhaps the UN, open up some kind of corridor to bring in assistance. The Libyans will tell you that this is not our problem. These people were in Tunisia. The Tunisians are the one that are responsible for this situation, bringing them onto the border and expecting Libya to bring them in. And they'll say that Libya, like any other state, has the right to refuse entry to people without legal documentation or passports or visas that can enter their territory. So, I mean, the situation is desperate, really desperate for these hundreds. And now we're hearing numbers of at least 1,200 people. So the situation is really desperate.
And Malik, just briefly, we are hearing that these are specifically black African migrants that have been rounded up in Tunisia. Is that correct?
That is absolutely correct. And that follows the insightful comments that the president, Kais Saied, in Tunisia has put out to the people, making people angry of their presence in Tunisia. And this is what's led to this incident. I mean, just to tell you one thing, I had a frank conversation with a Libyan senior official, and he said, look, if Tunisia thinks they have a problem with African migrants and refugees, ours is much worse. There are more than 700,000 African migrants and refugees in Libya. He said if we didn't care about people, we could literally in the next couple of days put tens of thousands of people on the border and make this a huge crisis. So, I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's these people that need help right away, and a solution needs to be done as soon as possible.
Okay, Malik, thank you for your reporting. Malik Trainer there joining us from the city of Zawara, about 30 kilometers from the Libyan border with Tunisia, where these people have become stranded. Well, just to give you a bit of context to all this, earlier in the year, and we heard our correspondent Malik refer to it, President Kais Saied appeared to blame migrants for a change of demographics in the country. The undeclared goal of these successive waves of illegal immigration is to consider Tunisia a purely African country that has no affiliation to the Arab and Islamic nations. Well, human rights groups condemn those comments, call them racist. Now, many African migrants say they fear for their safety. Tension worsened after the killing of a Tunisian man in Sfax on Monday. Residents demanded the expulsion of migrants from the city. Let's speak now to Amin Snoussi. He's a journalist and political analyst. He joins us now from Tunis. Firstly, I want to ask you, collective expulsions like we're hearing about here of these black African migrants, they're a violation, aren't they, of international law?
Yes, hello. Collective expulsions are definitely a violation of international law and basic principle of justice. You cannot collectively judge the people without giving them proper rights to legal assistance, to NGOs, it's really an action that is permitted only because they are in a difficult situation, and the officials just exploited the fact that Sfax was almost rioting after the crime you mentioned that happened on Monday, and they exploited this anger in order to evict migrants without giving them proper assistance.
Evict them and dump them miles and miles away on a border where they have no access to food, water, medicines, and so on. It's incredibly cruel.
Yes, it is incredibly cruel in horrible conditions. Yesterday, we actually saw a video online of a woman giving birth in those horrible conditions. We have seen reports of people drinking seawater. We have seen horrible conditions, unhuman conditions, but it doesn't seem the government doesn't seem to care, as they keep sending people there. I don't think it is possible to do something that can interest the government. It needs to be NGOs and international groups needs to be the one that intervene and needs to be strong enough to condemn what is happening right now. We need to hear more from Europe. We need to hear more from the UN. We need to hear more from NGOs in Tunisia, because besides some of Human Rights Watch and some other international NGOs, the national Tunisian NGOs are not talking enough, are not present enough to condemn what is happening.
Okay, well, can you tell me a little bit more about this tension that has been increasing in recent months between locals and the migrants, more specifically black migrants from elsewhere in Africa, in Tunisia? I mean, what has caused it to spiral to this level?
Well, it's interesting because Sfax has always been a place where migrants and Tunisians lived peacefully. And when you talk to people from Sfax, they will tell you that 1 year ago or 2 years ago, they were okay with having migrants. But now they believe that every single economical issue is caused by migration. People believe that food shortages, bread shortages are caused by immigration, which we do not have any data that can confirm that, and it's illogical to think that anyways, because shortages have been coming and going in Tunisia for the last 2 years. But since Kais Said's February statement, people now believe that every single economical issue they have is caused by immigration. That's why there is a target on black people in Tunisia. That is why conspiracy theories have been everywhere when it comes to migration, and this what led to a city where people were living together with no issue 2 years ago. Now they are unable to live together. They're unable to see besides this conspiracy theory and this crisis. People are blaming migrants for everything.
Okay, thank you for your time. Thank you for your analysis. Amin Snoussi, journalist and political analyst, speaking to us there from Tunis. Well, let's stay on this because some of the migrants attempting to reach Europe come from West African nations, such as Ghana. It is one of the world's biggest producers of both gold and cocoa, but many are being forced to look for new opportunities because of the struggling economy. Let's go to Haru Mutasa, who joins us now from the capital, Accra. And Haru, as is often the case in many countries in Africa, there is this huge divide, isn't there, between the rich who benefit from the country's resources and the poor who don't see any of the benefits. What difference is this IMF package, which is about to be announced, going to have on people's lives?